Hey y'all, it's Chris and welcome back to another episode of Creative Loops. This is my channel where I explore all things yarn, crochet, and sometimes knit. Dante will not be with me in this video. Dante is my 9-year-old son who will often join me in videos and also lend his editing skills to the final video. So, with all of that said, if you like what you see today, please click the like button. If you are not subscribed, please consider subscribing. I hope I will earn your subscription by the end of this video. And let's get into this week's video. So for this week's video, I have the 10th Hooks and Needles box to review. So for those of you who have not seen my other Hooks and Needles subscription box videos, I subscribe to Hooks and Needles. I paid for the annual subscription all at once, so each box is about $35, and there are 12 boxes in the series. For the Hooks and Needles boxes, they do send the boxes out in this specific order. So the first box will always be the first box for everybody that orders it, and then so on. I have noticed that some of the contents of the boxes change a little bit over time. There was someone else that I was watching on YouTube that was showing off some of the contents of their boxes, and some of the items were just a little different, some of the smaller items. The bigger project was still the same. I already opened this box, so we're not going to open it together, but let me show you what is inside. Starting with the booklet. So every box will have this booklet. This book will have the patterns that will be available for the yarn inside the box. Someone did point out in my last video that the patterns that they show on the front are not always the patterns that are available to make. So what this person is wrapped up in is not something that is also available as a pattern inside the book. I don't know if the pattern might be on their website, but it's not in this book, that's for sure. This little booklet, when you open it up, they tell you the total value of the box. And so if you've seen my other videos, you already know what I'm about to say. There is no way that everything in this box adds up to $74.80 or even close to $75. The yarn is overpriced, and the value that they place this booklet at is way overpriced. They place this booklet at $18, which if you're only looking at the patterns themselves, then each pattern is basically $6. And for them to consider the patterns in the book are supposed to be one beginner pattern, one intermediate pattern, and one advanced pattern. I very rarely will pay $6 for a pattern, and if I do, it has to be a very involved pattern. A pattern that is, when you're looking at it, all of the pieces come together really nicely. It goes through every detail that you need to know. There's no issues with the pattern, and the finished piece is a finished piece. One of the biggest issues that I have with the patterns that they provide sometimes is that it doesn't look like the pattern was finished. It looks very basic, very beginner. Even the advanced pattern will seem very beginner. We'll get into the patterns a bit more as I go through the book. The yarn is often valued at, okay, so this is three donuts of yarn for $40. I have not looked up what each donut of yarn will cost online yet, so I'll go ahead and look that up. But looking at this price, they're valuing the yarn itself at over $10 a donut. And as much as I liked working with this yarn, I would not pay more than $10 per donut for this yarn. I probably wouldn't pay more than $6 or $7 a donut for this yarn. In every box, they also give you a free gift. Now, they count the value of that gift towards this total value, but in my mind, the value of the box should not include the value of a free gift, because then it's not free if you want me to look at it as part of this overall box. In my mind, if you're giving me a free gift, then it should be excluded from all of this. So this month they're telling us that the crochet hook case is our free monthly gift as this month's special gift. So this $12.99 hook case, okay, feels like either cotton or linen fabric that opens up, and it has these little notches in it so that you can put your hooks in there, and then you can roll it back up and then tie it up. So they're valuing this at $13. You tell me. $13. And then the only other thing in this box is valued at $5, and they are yarn information labels. So on these labels you can write what type of yarn it is, what fiber it is, the weight of the yarn. You can write yards and meters, how many yards or meters were used for it, color, dye lot. So you can have these little yarn labels, and this is not to go with the final piece that you have, but to go with any like yarn that you have left over. So this yarn information, these labels, if you don't have the actual yarn labels anymore, you can fill this out and keep it with your yarn scraps, and you know what yarn you have left over. Excuse the voice. I'm dealing with a lot of like congestion right now. I'm feeling fine. It's just my head. I have a lot of head congestion. So if I sound a bit off today, please forgive me. It's congestion. Let's look at the yarn that's in the box. So like I said, I already opened up this box. This is all I have left of the yarn. So it came in this it came in these 3 colors. This yarn is called Merino Majesty yarn, and inside the booklet, Merino Majesty yarn is made from 100% extra fine merino wool. Each skein weighs 1.76 ounces or 50 grams and measures 99 yards or 90 meters in length. This premium wool is known for its exceptional softness, making it gentle on the skin and perfect for those with sensitive skin. The extra fine fibers create a smooth and even fabric that drapes beautifully and feels incredibly comfortable to use and wear. And the colors they gave us this week are just pink, blue, and cream. And the care instructions for this yarn are hand wash, lay flat to dry. One of the reasons that I like to get these kits is because it introduces me to new yarn that I might not have ever used before, and I know that I would not have picked up a wool yarn at the store that I would have to hand wash. So being able to get this in a box like this allows me to explore this yarn without making like a huge commitment on spending a ton of money on something. It really gives me the opportunity to explore and find something new that I might like or might not like and kind of move on. Let's get into these patterns. The beginner pattern this month is a glasses pouch. This is creating 5 smaller hexagons and putting them together to create the case. I will say this is the first pattern that I actually tried when I was using this yarn, because none of the 3 patterns that were in the book really spoke to me. And so this first pattern is the only pattern that I was kind of on the fence with, where I was like, okay, maybe I'll make this. I started making it, and the way they have you do the color changes in the rounds is not beginner friendly. I struggled to do it on such a small scale, because you create your magic circle, they have you do the chain 2 method, and you work into that chain. You're working six stitches, six single crochet stitches into that chain. And before you close that round, they want you to change the color to as you're closing that round, and then starting over with that new color, working into those single crochet stitches that are in a magic loop, which my hands don't work that well with small items, so it was really challenging for me to do that. um, I'm beginners could probably do it. It was challenging for me to do it, and I don't really consider myself a beginner, so I don't think I would really consider this pattern to be beginner friendly. They do show you, they have a bunch of pictures on how to put it together, on how to make it, so it is really easy to follow the pattern, but I don't think that pattern was beginner friendly. It looks like a really nice pattern though. I don't have the same complaint about this pattern where it doesn't look like it's finished. I will say, they say that you have everything you need in the box to do the pattern, but they have this button here and the button is not in the box. So it is a little frustrating that they're showing off this project, but they don't give you everything you need. And under the list of materials, it doesn't even list a button. So that's something else that I've noticed, but not so much, is that while they say that every box will have everything you need to finish a project, they give you the 3 projects that you can choose from. Some of the projects don't actually have everything you need in the box to finish it. So for example, just with this first project, they're showing you this glasses pouch. They show you this cute little button closure, but they don't have this in it. So the next pattern is color block cushion cover. This is listed as an intermediate pattern. I would probably say that this would have worked much better as the beginner pattern. There's really nothing complicated about this pattern. I think the biggest thing that could be complicated about this pattern is joining the 2 pieces together to create the pillow cover. Otherwise, you're just doing rows of double crochets back and forth, just rows of double crochet to build up the front and the back piece, and then you put it together, and then you are seaming it together along the sides with slip stitches. I think that this works much better as the beginner pattern than the intermediate pattern, and it is more beginner friendly than the glasses pouch pattern was. Now, the last pattern is this twisty cowl. They have you do cross stitches and double crochet clusters for this pattern. Pattern is, I would say this is an advanced pattern, but I don't personally like the way this comes together. The stitches kind of look random. So here's some pictures of it. The stitches almost kind of look random, and when you're putting it together, it just looks like, I'm at loss for words today. The way the stitches come together on this piece make it look very random. I think I'll leave it at that. The project looks pretty random with the way the stitches come together. I did not try this pattern. I'm not interested in trying this pattern. This pattern might work for someone else, but it just looks like someone was practicing a few stitches, created a short scarf, and decided to connect it together to create an infinity scarf and call it a day. And there's nothing wrong with that, but when I'm paying what feels like $6 per pattern, I don't want the project to look like it was just some random piece that someone was practicing with and decided to call it a day and create an infinity scarf. The other parts of this book include a 2-page spread on learning to fix crochet mistakes, which for missed stitches and extra stitches, they have 2 options. For missed stitches, you can frog it, or you can fix it with a crochet hook. For extra stitches, you can frog it, or you can fix it with a crochet hook. So, I mean, for some beginners, it's really good information. Then they go into an introduction of the yarn and the projects. And then after the patterns, there's a page of 5 tips for faster crocheting. And then this month's DIY is a macrame feather wall hanging project. So it also will give you some instructions on how to create a wall hanging macrame feather. And that's the contents of the book. Let's talk about the yarn. They came in these 99-yard donuts. I mentioned that I tried out the beginner project first and had hoped to like that. Didn't like it, so I stopped. I wasn't really interested in having a glasses case anyway. So I looked at the yarn and was really focused on wanting to make something with it and make it practical. So I decided to try something super beginner friendly and make a bandana. So I made this extra large bandana. So you basically do a half granny square and then just kind of continue to work your way back and forth, creating this triangle or bandana. I did a moss stitch along the edge here. I did single crochets into a chain stitch to create the string, and then I just did some shell stitches of 5 double crochets into the top of these granny stitches, and with the single crochet 5 double crochets, and alternated that to create these fans along the edges here. The yarn itself was really nice to work with. It did glide over my hands very nice. It was super soft. The yarn does split pretty easily, but that could be just how I'm using the yarn. I'm pretty sure if you were knitting with this yarn, it wouldn't split as much, but when crocheting with it, if you are a right-handed crocheter, this yarn does split quite a bit. If this yarn were more reasonably priced, would I buy it again? Probably not. And it's nothing against the yarn, but just because this is gonna sound bad, but I don't really pay that much attention to what I wash and dry, so I just throw everything in the washer and dryer, pull it out, call it a day. And so if there's something that requires more extensive care instructions, then I probably would not use this for myself, because I know that I'm not going to pay attention to how I'm taking care of it, and I'm very likely to mess up this yarn by doing something to it that I shouldn't be doing to it. So I probably would not buy this again unless I'm looking for a wool yarn for a specific project that I'm working on. And even in that case, there are a lot of other yarns that I would probably go to before I would check out this yarn. And when you also take into consideration that it's more than $10 per skein of yarn, I would not be buying this yarn again. It was really nice to work with. I am happy that I got it in the box. I do wish that the patterns that were provided would have been something that was interesting to me as well, so that I didn't have to think of my own pattern to try and do something with the yarn. But with that said, this is the contents of the box. These are my thoughts on this yarn, and you decide whether this is something that you would be interested in or not. I do have 2 more boxes coming, the 11th and 12th box. So you'll see 2 more videos from me when I receive those boxes. And that's it. I'm not gonna, I probably, no, I know I will not be purchasing from Hooks and Needles again, not anytime soon, unless they come out with something completely different, because while this experience was fun and interesting, it's not worth the cost of it for me. And I've heard from quite a few of you all that when you've subscribed, you got a couple of boxes, and then you canceled the subscription. And it seems like the general consensus from folks is that it was fun for a while, but then it just got really boring really fast, and what you're getting for the value just didn't seem to match. So there are quite a few other options out there that folks have mentioned as things that are more valuable, like paying $30 for a pack of surprise yarn from Mary Maxim, where you get this big bag of yarn that you can go through. Or Mary Maxim and a few other places have a much cheaper monthly subscription kit that you could subscribe to. So there are other things out there that might give you a better or more enjoyable experience than the hooks and needles boxes. The only real value that I see for myself in these boxes is the surprise yarn every month. And like I said, you can get that experience from, so many other retailers that have, blind yarn boxes available for you to purchase at a cheaper price. Thank y'all. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know the lighting is a bit off. It's really dark outside right now, so I apologize for the shadows if you're seeing all of these shadows. But thank you for joining me. Again, this is Chris. This has been Creative Loops. Please keep those creative loops going, and I will see you next week. Bye, y'all.